To Diep, hello, everyone. The peaceful rhythm of their new life shatters when Nhi's grandmother suddenly appears, her presence stirring up old wounds and unspoken fears. For CEO James, the stakes have never been higher. Could this be the moment he loses either to Diep or little Nhi? And for to Diep, whose arms have been the baby's safe haven, the thought of letting Nhi slip into her grandmother's grasp feels unbearable. Love, loyalty, and the fight for family collide as hearts are tested. Will this unexpected visitor tear them apart, or remind them what they are fighting for? The afternoon sun slipped lazily through the bamboo fence of the small countryside house, casting gentle shadows on the yard where Nhi's laughter used to echo. But today, the air felt heavier, as if it carried a secret no one wanted to face. To Diep stood at the wooden gate, her fingers brushing over the smooth shells of the last chicken eggs she had gathered for the market. Nhi's little hand was warm in hers, but there was a tremor in the child's voice. "Diep, why hasn't Uncle James come today? Does he not love us anymore?" Diep forced a smile, her heart tightening. "No, Nhi. He loves you very much. He's just very busy right now." But even as she spoke, she could not ignore the emptiness in her chest. James had not answered her calls for hours. His voicemail had been the only thing between them, cold and mechanical. As the two of them prepared to walk to the market, a pair of strangers appeared at the edge of the dusty path, an older woman in a faded blue scarf, her eyes sharp and calculating, walked slowly toward them. Behind her was a man whose silence carried a quiet threat. The woman stopped a few steps away, her gaze locking on Nhi. "So, this is where you've been hiding her," the grandmother said, her voice low but cutting. "My granddaughter, my blood." Diep felt her knees weaken. Months ago, the grandmother had refused to take responsibility for Nhi, claiming her own life was too complicated. But now here she was, her sudden appearance like a storm on a clear day. "You left her," Diep said, her tone steady though her hands trembled. "When we begged you to take her in, you turned your back, and now you come to claim her." The grandmother's lips curved into something that was not quite a smile. "Circumstances change, Diep. I have the means now. I've even arranged incentives." She glanced at her companion, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "This child belongs with her family, and if you care for her, you'll step aside." Nhi clung to Diep's skirt, wide-eyed and silent, sensing the tension. The marketplace chatter in the distance seemed too far away, as though the world had shrunk to this very moment. Just the three of them and a choice that could shatter everything. Miles away, James stared at his phone in a city hotel room, exhaustion etched into his face. Deals were falling apart, competitors were circling like vultures, and John's betrayal threatened to destroy his company. Yet, through all of it, one thought consumed him: I can lose my fortune, but not Diep and Nhi. The grandmother stepped closer, her tone turning softer, but no less dangerous. "Diep, be reasonable. I can give Nhi a future you can't. James is too busy chasing his empire to protect either of you. Do you want to watch her suffer when his world collapses?" Diep swallowed hard, tears pricking her eyes. She thought of James's warm smile, the way he bent down to teach Nhi a simple game, the way he whispered that he would never let them go. She thought of his broken promises too, of the unanswered calls, and of the uncertainty hanging over them like a storm cloud. But she also felt Nhi's small fingers tightening around hers, a silent plea that said more than words ever could. "No," Diep whispered, her voice steadying. "Nhi is not a bargaining chip. She's not a prize to be won. She is loved, and she's staying with the people who have been here for her." The grandmother's expression flickered surprise, anger, perhaps even guilt, but she masked it quickly. "We'll see," she said, turning away. "This isn't over." As the woman's figure disappeared down the path, Diep knelt and wrapped her arms around Nhi. The evening sky deepened into gold and violet, but Diep felt the weight of the coming storm. She knew James would fight for them, but she also knew that some battles weren't just about love, they were about survival. Somewhere far away, James closed his eyes and clenched his fists. He could feel the fragile thread that bound them stretching thin. This time, it wasn't just his company at stake. If he faltered now, he might lose not just his future, but the two souls who had become his whole world. The sky had darkened by the time Diep finished washing the dinner dishes. Nhi had fallen asleep on the bamboo mat, her small chest rising and falling in the dim glow of the oil lamp. But Diep couldn't bring herself to rest. Her mind replayed the grandmother's words like a broken record, sharp, accusing, impossible to silence. She stepped outside, the night air cool against her skin. Crickets chirped in the tall grass, and the distant lights of the village flickered faintly. Somewhere out there, James was fighting battles she couldn't see, and now another threat had come for the only piece of happiness she had left. A faint vibration startled her. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Diep. James's voice was rough with fatigue, but just hearing it steadied her heart. "James," she whispered, trying not to wake Nhi. "Where are you?" "Something happened today. I'm in Hanoi," he said, a note of frustration in his tone. "The deal fell apart. John's people pulled the funding again. I've been in meetings since dawn. But tell me what happened." Diep hesitated. "Nhi's grandmother came. She wants to take her away. She even offered money to someone to make it happen." For a moment, silence filled the line, heavy and dangerous. Then James's voice dropped, low and edged with steel. "She thinks she can buy her way into Nhi's life, not while I'm breathing. She's her blood." "James," Diep said softly, "legally, she could make this hard. And you're not here." "I will be," he said, the promise sharp and certain. "First thing tomorrow, I'm on a train back. I don't care what it costs or who I have to face." Diep wanted to believe him, but the memory of his unanswered calls still ached. She stared at the little house, the chipped paint, the sagging doorframe, and wondered if love alone could hold everything together. The next morning, the rooster's crow echoed through the valley. Diep woke to the sound of Nhi's giggles. She was outside, skipping stones across the small stream. For a brief moment, life felt normal again, but then a shadow fell across the yard. The grandmother had returned, this time dressed in a pressed blouse and carrying papers under her arm. "I told you," she said calmly. "This isn't over. I've spoken to people. I can make this official." Diep's pulse quickened, but she stood her ground. "Nhi isn't a trophy. You abandoned her when she needed you most." The older woman's gaze softened just for a moment, betraying a flicker of regret, but it hardened again. "Maybe I was wrong before, but I won't be wrong again." Before Diep could reply, the crunch of tires on gravel broke the tense silence. A sleek black car pulled up, and James stepped out, his suit slightly wrinkled, his eyes dark from sleepless nights. But his presence was undeniable, steady, protective, and fierce. He walked straight toward Diep and Nhi, kneeling to scoop the little girl into his arms. "Hey, sweetheart," he said gently. "I'm here now." Then he faced the grandmother, his voice even but edged with warning. "You want to talk about Nhi's future? Fine. But you don't threaten Diep, and you don't scare a child. Not ever." The grandmother's eyes narrowed. "And who are you to decide? You're not even family." James straightened, his arms still wrapped around Nhi. "Maybe not by blood, but I'm the one who shows up. I'm the one she runs to when she's scared. Family is earned." The air between them crackled like a coming storm. Nhi clung to James's neck. Sensing the weight of the moment, Diep stepped closer, her hand brushing James's arm, a silent show of unity. The grandmother's lips pressed into a thin line. "We'll see what the law says." She turned and walked away, her footsteps fading into the morning mist. James exhaled, finally letting some of the tension leave his shoulders. He turned to Diep, his voice quieter now. "She's not taking her. I don't care what I have to risk." Diep searched his eyes, seeing both the exhaustion and the fire within them. For the first time in days, she allowed herself a fragile smile. But deep down, she knew the grandmother's threat wasn't idle and that the hardest fight had only just begun. Life often tests the strength of our love and the depth of our promises, and the story of Diep, James, and little Nhi carries a powerful message. When Nhi's grandmother suddenly appeared, trying to claim the child she had once abandoned, it was not just a moment of conflict, it was a lesson about loyalty, responsibility, and the true meaning of family. The grandmother's return reminds us that blood ties alone do not define love or care. Family is not simply the people who share our name or our history. It is the people who stay, who show up when it matters most. Diep could have been swayed by fear or the grandmother's authority, but her choice to protect Nhi was rooted in unconditional love and commitment. Even when she was unsure about James, she understood that Nhi's well-being mattered more than pride or doubt. James's reaction teaches another part of the lesson. Responsibility is not about convenience. Even though he was exhausted, facing betrayal and a collapsing business, he did not run from the people who depended on him. He understood that moments of crisis reveal character. By choosing to return to Diep and Nhi, he showed that true love requires action, not just words. The story also warns us about trust and second chances. The grandmother's initial neglect damaged relationships that could not easily be repaired with money or legal papers. Forgiveness and redemption require honesty, consistency, and time, not manipulation or force. Finally, the moment Nhi clung to Diep and James reminds us that children see the world through the security of the adults who love them. They notice absence, broken promises, and fear, but they also feel the strength of love and protection. The stability we provide shapes their future. The lesson is simple but profound. Love is more than a claim, it is a daily choice. Family is not built by blood alone, but by loyalty, sacrifice, and the quiet, steadfast acts of care that hold people together when everything else threatens to pull them apart. The story of Diep, James, and Nhi also teaches us about courage in the face of uncertainty. Diep could have chosen the easier path, stepping aside and letting Nhi's grandmother take her away, avoiding confrontation and possible legal trouble. But true care often means standing firm, even when fear whispers that surrender would be safer. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act in spite of it, guided by love and integrity. Another part of the lesson is about trust between partners. James's long absence and missed calls tested Diep's faith in him. In moments of hardship, it is easy to doubt or feel abandoned. Yet their reunion reminds us that strong relationships are built not on perfection, but on patience, communication, and forgiveness. Trust must be nurtured, especially when life's storms pull people in different directions. The grandmother's attempt to use money as leverage is a warning about values. Wealth and power may open doors, but they cannot buy genuine love or repair broken bonds. Lasting relationships are built on kindness, presence, and emotional honesty, not on material offers. This story also highlights the importance of community and conscience. While the grandmother believed she could act in secrecy, Diep's honesty and willingness to stand for what is right showed that our choices affect more than ourselves. The people around us, neighbors, friends, and even children, watch how we respond to injustice and hardship. Our actions can inspire them to act with compassion and integrity in their own lives. Finally, the story leaves us with hope. Even when situations seem fragile or impossible, love and unity can create resilience. Diep and James did not have a perfect plan or endless resources, but their shared commitment to Nhi gave them strength. The lesson here is that family, however it is formed, can withstand trials when its foundation is built on loyalty, sacrifice, and love that chooses to stay. In life, people may come and go, circumstances may shift, and challenges may arise without warning. But as this story shows, the bonds we choose to protect and nurture become the anchors that hold us steady through every storm.